Let's look at question number 41. Imagine you have both an Azure subscription and a Microsoft 365 subscription. You are tasked with designing a strategy to ensure resiliency against ransomware attacks. What solution would you propose to prevent attackers from gaining administrative permissions and to limit potential damage to Azure resources? Let's look at the options available. The correct answer is Privileged Access Management, or PAM. So what is Privileged Access Management? A privileged access management allows organization to govern and monitor access to privileged tasks or resources, which allows them to perform just-in-time activation of privileges and enforce strict controls over privileged access. Let's look into a use case of a privileged access management incorporating in critical system protection. Organizations can use privileged access management to safeguard access to sensitive systems such as financial databases or intellectual property repositories. Question number 42. Imagine you have an Azure subscription that includes SQL Server on Azure virtual machines. Suddenly, you discover that a ransomware attack has occurred. You must follow the Microsoft Detection and Response Team, which is DART, guidance to respond to the incident, ensuring business operations are minimally disrupted. What should be your initial step? Out of all these options, what do you think should be your correct or the first step? The first step should be accessing the scope of the incident. That is the right answer for this particular question. The first step in the DART guidance is containment by first assessing the scope of the incident. Once you have identified the scope of the attack, you can then take action by preserving the existing system and then establish the recovery process. The Microsoft Detection and Response Team, which is DART, is a specialized group within Microsoft that focuses on helping organizations respond to and recover from cybersecurity incidents, including ransomware attacks. They offer expertise in various aspects of cybersecurity, such as threat detection, incident response, recovery, and post-incident analysis. Question number 43. Imagine you are tasked with developing a strategy to enhance the resilience of an Azure environment against ransomware attacks. Which key objectives should be prioritized when implementing network segmentation to bolster this strategy? Let's look into these options. The correct answer is to limit the lateral movement of ransomware. Okay, what is network segmentation? Network segmentation involves dividing a computer network into smaller, isolated sections. The primary purpose of this is to limit the lateral movement of ransomware or other threats. If a part of the network is infected, the segmentation keeps the infection contained, preventing it from spreading to the entire network. Some of the benefits of this network segmentation include improved security, enhanced performance, and simplified management. If you want to look at a use case in a large corporation, different departments like HR, finance, IT might have their own network segments to ensure sensitive data is protected. Let's look at question 44. Consider you are tasked with designing a security framework for a new Azure deployment based on the guidelines of Microsoft Security Reference Architecture, which is MCRA. You need to create a strategy focused on effectively reducing the risk of insider threats within your organization. What measures should you include in this strategy? Let's look into these options. The correct answer is monitor and audit users or user activities and access privileges. First, let's look into what are insider threats. Insider threats refers to risk posed by individuals within an organization who have access to critical data and systems. These threats can originate from employees, contractors, or other trusted insiders who misuse their access either intentionally or unintentionally. Insider threats can lead to data breaches, loss of sensitive information, and significant financial or reputational damage. So, what is MCRA? MCRA, which stands for Monitoring, Compliance, Risk and Auditing. This is a framework designed to help organizations detect and mitigate risk, which is primarily insider risk attacks, through vigilant monitoring and auditing of user activities and access privileges. Question number 45. Imagine you have an Azure subscription and are tasked with designing a solution that adheres to Zero Trust Rapid Modernization Plan, which is RAMP or RAMP. This solution must include guidelines for ransomware recovery readiness, ensuring that backups are validated, secure, and facilitate a rapid recovery. Which RAMP initiative would you or should you incorporate in your design plan? Let's look into the options provided. The correct answer is data compliance and governance. So let's look into what is this RAMP or Rapid Modernization Plan. This Zero Trust Rapid Modernization Plan is a strategic approach to cybersecurity that emphasizes the need to always verify access requests before granting them, regardless of whether they originate from within or outside the network. Instead of assuming that entities inside the network are trustworthy, RAMP advocates for a never trust, always verify mindset. This plan helps organizations protect their data, infrastructure, and users by implementing security measures that continuously assess and validate risk and access permissions. One of the use cases of RAMP is it can help organizations prepare for ransomware attacks by implementing robust access controls and monitor systems that detect and respond to suspicious activity, thereby mitigating the impact of such attack. Question 46. Consider you have an Azure subscription and are tasked with designing a security solution that aligns with the Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark or MCSB. The solution should include guidance on best practices for managing security alerts and notification. Which control from the MCSB should be included in your strategy? Let's look at the options. The correct answer is incident response. But let's go and learn about what is this Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark or MCSB. The Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark is a set of best practices and guidelines created by Microsoft to help organizations secure their cloud environments. It covers various aspects of cloud security, including governance, strategy, threat detection, network security, and incident response. The benchmark provides a comprehensive framework for assessing and improving the security of cloud resources and services. Question number 47. Imagine you are tasked with designing a user access solution that adheres to the zero trust principle of the Microsoft Cybersecurity Reference Architectures, which is MCRA. You need to propose features that ensure the least privileged access to Azure resources. Which two features would you recommend to fulfill this requirement? Each correct answer contributes to the solution. So let's look into the available option. What are the two features would you recommend? The correct answers are just-in-time access and risk-based access policies. MCRA states least privileged access as one of the principles of guidelines. The features that support this guidance include just-in-time access and risk-based access policies in Azure. Let's look at some of the use cases of MCRA. So MCRA can be applied in various scenarios to enhance an organization's cybersecurity efforts. Let's look into a cloud security example. Organizations migrating to cloud environments such as Microsoft Azure can use MCRA to establish robust security measures that protect their data and application in the cloud. This includes implementing data encryption, network segmentation, and risk-based access policies. Question number 48. Imagine your organization is planning a migration from an on-premises network to an Azure environment. As part of the design plan, you are incorporating principles from Microsoft well-architected framework. You need to include a strategy that ensures consistent control measures are in place to intercept authentication requests for Azure resources. Which strategy should you include in the design? Go through these available options and see if you can find the right answer. The correct answer is establish a modern perimeter. So first of all, what is Microsoft Well-Architected Framework? The Microsoft Well-Architected Framework, or WAF, is a set of guiding principles and best practices designed to help architects and developers build, manage, and optimize their cloud solutions effectively. So let's look into a use case of a Microsoft Well-Architected Framework. Organizations migrating their workloads to the cloud can use this WAF to ensure a smooth, efficient transition. Now let's understand what is this establishing a modern perimeter mean. So establishing a modern perimeter refers to a strategy of defining security boundaries based on intercepting authentication requests rather than traditional methods like intercepting network traffic. This involves leveraging technologies such as zero trust architecture, where trust is never assumed and all access requests are authenticated and authorized, regardless of their origin. Question number 49. Imagine you have an Azure subscription containing various custom applications and you are in the process of designing an application development workflow that integrates the Microsoft Cloud Adoption Framework for Azure's CI/CD DevOps methodology. To ensure security throughout this process, you need to identify the appropriate DevSecOps control that employs the STRIDE model to outline security practices. Which DevSecOps control should you choose? Let's look at the available options. The correct answer is threat modeling. So what is this DevSecOps control using this STRIDE model? What is STRIDE? The STRIDE model is a threat modeling framework used to identify and mitigate security threats in software development. STRIDE stands for spoofing, tampering, repudiation, information disclosure, denial of service, and elevation of privilege. Now let's understand what is this threat modeling. Threat modeling is a process used to identify, access, and address potential security threats in software systems. It involves analyzing the architecture, design, and implementation of applications to discover vulnerabilities and plan mitigations. Threat modeling can range from simple question and answer methods to detailed analysis using centralized tools. Common methodologies for threat modeling include STRIDE model, the DREAD model, and OWASP threat modeling. Let's look at question number 50. Imagine you are tasked with designing an Azure deployment for a large organization. You need to recommend an architecture model that fulfills the following requirements. The requirements are: utilizes subscription to separate and scale application resources and platform resources, aligns with the Microsoft Cloud Adoption Framework for Azure, and can be effectively managed by one or more central teams. Which architecture model would you include in your recommendation? Let's look at the options first. The correct answer is Azure Landing Zones. So what is Azure Landing Zones? Azure Landing Zones are a set of guidelines, best practices, and resources designed to help organizations set up a comprehensive, scalable cloud environment in Microsoft Azure. These zones serve as foundational blocks for deploying and managing workloads in Azure, offering a consistent approach to governance, security, and operations. So let's look at a use case for an Azure Landing Zone. For application deployment, Azure Landing Zone simplifies the process of deploying application by providing pre-configured environments that comply with organizational policies. And this can enable the creation of shared services, example, networking, identity management, that can be used by various applications and workloads. In a real world example, if you look at an e-commerce platform, if a large e-commerce company uses Azure Landing Zone to deploy their online shopping application, the application landing zone include multiple subscriptions for different services. One for web servers, or another one for databases, or for payment processing. The platform landing zone manages shared services like identity management and network security, ensuring consistency and compliance across all environments.